for. Without further ado, here are the top 10 fights in the Fate anime series. The first Heaven's Feel movie ends in a bang, giving us our first fight on the list, Ryder vs True Assassin. As the film draws to a close, it seems that Saber's master is doomed to suffer the same fate as many who cross True Assassin. Yeah, right, you think they'd kill the main character off? Surprisingly, help is on its way. Just as Shiro's about to be finished off by True Assassin, Ryder, of all servants, comes to the rescue. And this isn't the same Ryder as the one that was easily defeated earlier in the movie. This time, she's faster and more powerful than her previous incarnation, and she puts on a show with her chains before forcing a retreat out of True Assassin. Just how did a servant that was so weak become the one to save our protagonist? It's anybody's guess at that point, but those familiar with the story know that the answer is closer to Shiro than you would have expected. Next up, we have Archer vs Lancer in Unlimited Blade Works. Everyone knows him for the jokes about him dying, but when you look at it from another perspective, Lancer's probably one of the strongest servants summoned in Fate Stay Night's Holy Grail War. He constantly falls victim to the biggest curse in anime while fighting, not being a main character. An even match battle quickly goes in Lancer's favor as he reveals that he is indeed taking it easy in their first confrontation. With all the shackles removed, Lancer proves to be without peer in combat, and Archer finds that out the hard way. Nevertheless, both combatants remain calm and collected as Lancer unleashes his noble phantasm, Gay Bolg. A full-powered Ro IS barely protected Archer from the powerful noble phantasm. Maybe Gay Bolg secretly the most powerful noble phantasm in this war. Once you're hit by it, game over. The only way to survive it is to defeat Lancer beforehand. And speaking of defeating Lancer before he can use Gay Bolg, next we have Lancer vs True Assassin. To be honest, I wouldn't consider this much of a fight, but more of a chase scene. A beautiful and cinematic chase fitting for a modern movie of the Fate franchise. Seeing a pattern with short, visually pleasing fights in Heaven's Feel? When you think about it, the eye test shows that Lancer has the fight against True Assassin won in all regards. He chases True Assassin throughout the city, and he outmaneuvers and overcomes all that True Assassin throws at him. Even with superior combat abilities, Lancer fails to catch True Assassin in time and is led to a confrontation with the shadow that's been haunting for Yuki City. Seeing the threat of this new enemy, Lancer attempts to use Gay Bolg, but is slain before managing to let loose the destructive noble phantasm. The fight is here to showcase the threat of the shadow and how a big player it is in the story. The look of disbelief on Lancer's face says it all. No way would True Assassin be able to defeat a servant of Lancer's caliber, but with the mysterious shadow by his side, masters and servants beware. Our next entry is Shiro, Saber, and Rin taking on Kozuki and Caster. This fight shows that while servants are the mightiest heroes of legend, you shouldn't underestimate masters in a fight. Kozuki's one master who's trained himself to fight on par with servants and shows his strength by taking on Saber himself. It isn't Caster who manages to overpower Saber, but her human master. Something like that's unheard of, and it just shows how amazing a combatant Kozuki's become. With that impressive showing against Saber, taking down Rin wouldn't be much of a chore now, would it? So it's up to Shiro to save the day, and boy did he do it. He showcases his projection abilities in his attempt to save both Saber and Rin. Well, creating Archer's blades doesn't really get the job done, but the ability does shift the tide of the battle a bit until Kozuki and Caster make their getaway. Fate Zero has the next great fight on the list, Saber vs Lancer. This fight isn't the first to feature Saber taking on Lancer in the Fate Zero timeline. Previously, Lancer always seemed to come out on top. However, the battles would always be interrupted which results in a debatable draw. This time, Saber and Iris Veal confront Lancer for the last time, hoping to finish the duel between the servants and finally decide a winner. The two servants exchange blows as equals, and we see how much Saber values fighting with honor and a clear conscience. Unfortunately for her though, someone whose fate is tied to her doesn't share her ideals. Yep, that fight's cut short by Kiritsugu's intervention. He coerces Kenneth to use his command seal in order to force Lancer into committing suicide. With that, Lancer dies, cursing the Holy Grail, Kiritsugu, and the world. And it's such a shame that such a good fight ended in a tainted way. Then again, all's fair in love and war, and Kiritsugu's the embodiment of that saying. At 5, we have Saber Alter versus Berserker from the second Heaven's Feel movie. Midway through the second Heaven's Feel movie, Saber Alter manifests and has none other than Berserker as her first opponent. It's a key rematch from the previous movie. This battle's big in a way that it shows how far Saber in this new form has come. After losing to Berserker in the original movie as her previous self, Alter proves to be more than what Berserker and his numerous lives can handle. Few can have physically besting Berserker as a claim to fame, but Alter does it and more. Seemingly unscathed by the raw power of Berserker, Alter finishes the fight with her new version of Excalibur. Overall, the fight might not be that exciting or tense as the next ones that we have on the list, but it's a visual treat. If there's a memorable moment in Fate Zero due to the sheer spectacle of it, this would be it. As the series approaches its end, we're treated to a final face-off between Ryder and Gilgamesh. After some words to his master, Ryder activates his noble phantasm and the fight's on. We once again get treated to the awesomeness that is Ionioi Hetairoi. Who could beat an entire army of soldiers forged by bonds and the spirit of the great conqueror? A red sword. That's what. Despite having his reality marble wiped by Gilgamesh's Enuma Elish, Ryder charges on. Enduring blade after blade from the Gate of Babylon, Ryder's sheer willpower keeps him going. It's glorious for Ryder. Not a lot can force respect out of Gilgamesh, but here he's finally recognized as a worthy opponent to the King of Heroes. Opening our top 3 is Gilgamesh vs Shiro. Honestly, I'm tempted to put this fight higher just because of the sheer spectacle of it. This fight, in the climax, is largely one of the reasons why I like Unlimited Blade Works so much, even with the problems it has. After seeing how big of a Karma Houdini Gilgamesh ended Fate Zero as, it feels so satisfying to see him find his match in not the strongest of servants, but a boy who just really wants to be a hero of justice. Using Unlimited Blade Works, Shiro manages to match Gilgamesh's sword blow by blow. As he admits, this tactic would be useless against the mightiest servants, but against the arrogant king whose sword spams those he deems beneath him, this is the perfect counter. Shiro outmaneuvers Gilgamesh's onslaught and caps off the battle with his beautiful version of Ro-Ayas. I'm sure that I'm not the only one who had goosebumps in this fight. Backed with, in my opinion, the best rendition of the Emiya theme jamming in the background, this fight is a must-watch. If you want something to convince you to watch Unlimited Blade Works, this is it. In a close race for the top spot, Archer vs Shiro falls short in second place. They say your greatest enemy is yourself. That doesn't hit any closer to home for both Shiro and Archer. Being Shiro's future self from a timeline where he's grown embittered and cynical, Archer vows to take down his other self and break down the latter's details. What makes this battle so awesome is the fact that it's not a battle of strength. Come on, we all know Shiro's a capable fighter and that Archer's nowhere near the strongest servant in terms of raw power. But do you think that Shiro has any chance at all of defeating one of the most resourceful and versatile servants in a straight battle? Instead of a battle of strength, This battle is more a clash of ideals. Archer has the chance to quickly put an end to his young, naive self, but he refuses to do so. His enemy's not the boy in front of him, but the ideals that would soon turn that boy into the cynic that he knows. In the end, it's the stronger will that triumphed in this battle. Refusing to give in to Archer's taunts, Shiro holds his ground in his beliefs and grabs the victory that he should never have gotten. So did you guess which fight made it to the #1 spot on our list? Yep, that's right. Kirei vs Kiritsugu from Fate Zero takes the #1 spot. With Kirei vs Kiritsugu, we have an unorthodox fight for anime standards. With the past entries, we've been treated to amazing reality marbles, excellent swordsmanship, and loads more. However, this fight needs no such useless fireworks. Kirei and Kiritsugu battle it out as foils, two people who are cut from the same mold, pragmatic monsters who are beyond right or wrong in their personal crusades. Everything in the fight is what you'd expect for a final battle between two masters, given Fate Zero's stellar reputation. Fluid fight choreography and brilliant strategizing highlight the rather short confrontation between two people who are essentially the same, and you can see it in their exchanges. Despite being this badass mage killer who doesn't give a damn about fighting clean and honorably, Kiritsugu finds his match in the priest, who acts as a wall that he just can't overcome. Instead of a slugfest, we're treated to a brilliant dance of assassins. Personally, this isn't just my favorite from the Fate series, it's also one of my favorite fights in anime, period. And there we have it, the top 10 Fate anime fights. Do you know that the third and final Heaven's Feel movie is due out next year? That's right, one more year before it all ends with one hell of a finale. But wait, we've barely covered the thousands of spin-offs that the franchise has spawned. Would you like to see a part 2 for this video, which includes fights from the non-Ufotable series? Like the video if so. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell button so you never miss any of our uploads. I'll see you next time on ViniTube. Trace off.